now let us see the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. So, for example, if a person is having hemorrhage or blood loss, or the blood pressure or volume of the person is decreased, then even of course if the blood pressure in a whole body is decreased, of course the blood flow to the kidney also will decrease. So this this will also in turn reduce the renal perfusion, and veins of the kidney bring renin into the blood. So actually here what happens, as the renal perfusion is decreased, we have juxtaglomerular apparatus which sends this. So because of this, the renin is released into the blood from the kidneys. So efferent arteries are also having poor blood flow, and blood pressure measuring device is associated with every nephron, that is called as baroreceptors. So these are the smooth muscles modified, they form the baroreceptors. These are also called as Purkinje cells. So whenever the blood flow is decreased, they produce renin. So dual function to identify the blood pressure, and next one is endocrine function producing renin. So you can see this cells have two functions. One is to produce renin and other one is to identify whether there are any changes in the blood pressure. And macular denser cells are actually present at the early part of distal convoluted tubule. So they are mainly sensitive to the sodium in the tubular fluid. So this pressure sensing cells and macula densa together form the juxtaglomerular apparatus. So these are the base, baro and chemoreceptors which are held together by a connective tissue cells. So whenever the glomerular filtration rate is low, as the blood flow is low, then the capturing of sodium will increase. So the sodium reaching the capture of sodium will increase, means what to say, the flow of sodium is increased, the flow of sodium is low, so most of the sodium gets reabsorbed. As the most of the sodium gets reabsorbed, the sodium which is reaching the macula densa will decrease. So this in turn will activate and produce the nitric oxide, prostaglandins, which activates the Purkinje cells, and they start producing renin. So actually in a normal condition, our blood flow is fast. As the blood flow is fast, most of the sodium, of course only 65% of sodium is reabsorbed by our PCT, and from other cells that somewhat sodium will be reabsorbed. So the remaining sodium will be high by reaching the early DCT, so that it will not cause the release of renin. But here you can see, as the blood flow is slow, the cells have more chance to reabsorb the sodium. As the sodium is reabsorbed more, the sodium which is reaching the macula densa has decreased. So this in turn will lead to activation of our juxtaglomerular apparatus, so that the renin is released. So carotid sinus is another blood pressure measuring device. So when blood is low, they send this message to the brain or central nervous system that the blood pressure is low by the 9th cranial nerve, that is a glossopharyngeal nerve. So they stimulate the sympathetic outflow which releases the norepinephrine, and beta 1 receptors are actually present in a juxtaglomerular apparatus. So they are stimulated by this norepinephrine. Finally more renin is released. So because of this stimulation, now there is higher production of renin. So renin now enters the general systemic circulation and converts the angiotensin which is released from the liver into now angiotensin 1, and when this passes to the lung, now it is further converted into angiotensin 2, mainly by angiotensin converting enzyme. Actually this angiotensin 2 is a vasoconstrictor, so whenever the blood vessel is vasoconstricted, the blood flow increases, the blood pressure increases. So angiotensin converting enzyme is actually present, the exact location is in the endothelial cells of lung. So they are also having another function like inactivation of bradykinin, because bradykinin is a vasodilator. Now we are also we are activating only the vasoconstrictors, because angiotensin is a vasoconstrictor. So why we are actually activating the constrictors? Because already the blood flow is very low to the body now, and even the blood pressure is low. So bradykinin, which is vasodilator. So angiotensin converting enzyme mainly promote the vasodilator and block the angiotensin converting enzyme mainly promote the vasoconstrictor, right? Vasoconstrictor, and they block the vasodilators. And angiotensin 2 receptors are present in arteriolar and venous muscles. In arterioles and veins. The smooth muscles also have this receptors for angiotensin 2. So whenever the venular smooth muscle receptor is activated, the veins constrict and increase the volume and pressure in ventricle. You can understand this. Actually, almost a lot of 70% of blood is stored in the veins. So whenever the veins will get constricted, there is a lot of increase in blood flow and increase in blood pressure to our venous system. From the venous system, it reaches the right heart, so that the blood will also increase to the right heart. So according to Frank Starling, we know as more blood means more stretch in the ventricle. Whenever there is more stretch in the ventricle, then there is more ability to contraction. So preload of the heart becomes more. That leads to increase in stroke volume, which increases the cardiac output. So this is how, as the stroke volume increases, the cardiac output also increases. So in turn, systolic pressure of course will increase. Meanwhile, angiotensin II also act on arteries and constrict, so the blood is retained, and also diastolic blood pressure also will now increase. Angiotensin II also have receptors in zona glomerulosa of adrenal cortex. In cortex we have zona fasciculata, glomerulosa, reticularis, right? So glomerulosa is actually a flower-like structure. It also have receptor for this, and this lead to release of mainly aldosterone in the circulation. So this mainly reaches the principal cell in collecting duct. We discussed about the principal cell before, so right, of the kidney, and this operate the genes and produces sodium potassium ATPases in the basolateral membrane. Basolateral membrane means opposite to the lumen side, right? So they accumulate more potassium inside. Already what the sodium potassium pump does, it takes away 3 sodium out of the cell and puts 2 potassium into the cell. So now as the potassium is accumulating inside the cell, some of it is also secreted out into the urine. So throw out more sodium out of the cell and bring more potassium into the cell, and this potassium is also leaking into the urine. So this may also lead to that is potassium in the urine because of aldosterone activation, which is done by our angiotensin II indirectly. So now cells become extremely rich in potassium and poor in sodium, and then in collecting duct, the principal cells have mainly 3 proteins. One protein is related to sodium potassium ATPase, and other 2 proteins release the sodium channels into the luminal membrane, and now the sodium rushes into the cell but again thrown out by sodium potassium ATPases. So water also reabsorbed by this inflow of sodium. So actually there are 3 proteins in our principal cells. So 2 proteins mainly release the sodium channels into the luminal membrane, but even though they release, again the sodium rush into the cell because again it is thrown out by sodium potassium ATPases, right? So this process continues. So water is also reabsorbed along with the sodium. 3 proteins are associated with formation of potassium channels. They get out the potassium out of the cell. So sodium and water are retained in the blood, increase the blood volume. So all processes are activated in cascade fashion in heart, and finally even the systolic volume will increase. So not only by our constriction, angiotensin we see already that they will constrict. So because of this constrict sympathetic activity, of course already blood pressure and blood flow will increase, but at the same time this angiotensin II will also activate this aldosterone. So because of this, more sodium and water will accumulate. When sodium and water accumulate, this leads to increase in blood volume of our system, and it will also lead to increase in systolic volume. So angiotensin II go to even hypothalamus and go to posterior pituitary and mainly produce a ADH. So why ADH is produced? It makes collecting tubule permeable to water. So actually now our blood volume is decreased, so we need to produce ADH so that only concentrated urine is formed, so that lot of the water will be preserved, and that will be useful for increasing in our blood volume. So now this water increases the blood volume, finally increase the systolic blood pressure. So we have seen many methods. First one is constriction. So because of constriction, the blood flow to the heart will increase, and next processes are that is aldosterone system, which lead to sodium and water retention, and next one is our ADH, which also leads to water reabsorption. So extremely important function, supreme stimulator of sympathetic system. So central sympathetic outflow will increase and ganglia are stimulated. So if nerve endings release increase, mainly norepinephrine, again in turn affects the systolic pressure. So they have receptors or thirst, so the person with blood loss or bleeding feels thirsty. So even they have receptors, so that the thirst receptors are also activated. So angiotensin II major function is to increase the systolic pressure or volume of the blood. So whenever the cardiac failure, there is decreased cardiac outflow, blood flow to every organ is decreased, and the chronic activation of that is renin angiotensin aldosterone system is activated, and this leads to sympathetic activity. So angiotensin II increase and aldosterone increase, they change the myocardial cells and fibroblasts and undergo chronic hypertrophy. So sometimes for the initial time it's beneficial by this renin angiotensin aldosterone system, because First, the renin is released because it's sensing the low blood pressure and low sodium entering the macula densa in the distal convoluted tubule. So this will in turn lead to constriction. This is released. So because of its release, it converts the angiotensin into angiotensin 1, and this angiotensin 1 is converted into angiotensin 2 because of the the enzyme angiotensin converting enzyme released from the endothelial cells of the lung. So now this angiotensin 2 will come to the adrenal cortex, activate the aldosterone. So all this process are mainly used to increase the blood volume, increase the blood flow to the all body parts, so that we can compensate the blood loss by hemorrhage or any other factor. But here sometimes actually what happens is, here you can see sometimes this system is overactivated, so that the sympathetic activity will be overactivated, and this will lead to, they change the myocardial cells in the heart, they will lead to overexcitation and also sometimes undergo chronic hypertrophy. So in cardiac failure patients, if this system is activated in the initial, it is good for them, but later if it is prolonged, it may lead to again further heart failure. So you can see here, under chronically elevated aldosterone, angiotensin 2 may change the geometry of heart, and they are called cardiac remodeling. Drugs used to block receptors which inactivate angiotensin to aldosterone to stop the cardiac diseases. So if the RAS system is activated too much, we need to immediately administer the drugs which are blocking them, so that we can prevent the further heart failure. So this is renin, angiotensin, aldosterone. If we want to understand this by means of a short diagram, we can understand. So this is a nephron, for example. Sorry for the bad diagram. And here we have, why we call this as juxtaglomerulus, this is afferent arteriole. So this is a glomerulus, right? So as this is near to the glomerulus, this apparatus that is called juxtaglomerular apparatus. So these are the Purkinje cell which are near to the afferent arteriole, and these are the macula densa. This is the distal convoluted tubule. So whenever there is low sodium in the tubular fluid in the distal convoluted tubule, this macula densa sense it, and along with this in between we have connective tissue joining this. This is called as juxtaglomerular apparatus, and here is the afferent arteriole. So whenever there is low afferent arterial blood, then also this is activated. So because of this activated, it releases the renin in the blood. So now this renin from the kidney, it will go into the systemic circulation, right? So in the systemic circulation, actually it reaches near to the lung. So this angiotensin is converted into angiotensin 1 by means of renin. And this angiotensin 1 in the lung endothelial cells have angiotensin 1 converting enzyme, which convert angiotensin 1 into angiotensin 2. And this angiotensin 2 in turn will go to the adrenal cortex. This is cortex, activate zona glomerulosa, and this in the zona glomerulosa, this angiotensin 2 will mainly activate our aldosterone. This aldosterone will again come to the kidney in the principal cell. This is a collecting duct. Here we have the principal cell, for example. So this principal cell will increase more sodium potassium ATPases, so that more sodium will go out, more potassium will come in, and this potassium will also leak out here in the urine, and sodium potassium more will be reabsorbed. And also this aldosterone. Next, ADH is also activated by renin. Aldosterone only will also activate the ADH stimulation, so that ADH will also activate. So because of ADH, the water channels come here and they absorb more water. So by this mechanism, you can see we'll get finally the concentrated urine, because lot of water and sodium are activated. So because of this, from the venous side, you can see now there is increase in blood volume. So the heart will also have higher blood volume, and this will lead to increase in cardiac output from the heart. So like this, controls our body whenever there is hemorrhage, blood loss or anything.